Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast of JoyClicks. I'm your host, Christian Buckley, joined by my Chewie, Mike Connors.
Thanks for having me. This is episode 38, and I'm just like, wait until we get to episode 52, because I don't think that'll be an entire year. I think it'll actually be more, right? So
yes.
So yeah, I'm pretty hyped. I'm just waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, it might be a little less, because we did 2 episodes a week during Mando. So
True.
Mike, I wonder if we did enough so our 1 year would be episode 66.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think that we'd have to do a little bit more for it to be episode 66, but hopefully.
Yeah, how lucky would that be, you know? Just we celebrate the 1 year around October, and it's like episode 66. Here we are. We're a living meme. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I've been really like inundating myself with the Star Wars content recently.
Mm-hmm.
Just been like on that book grind, and then also sort of been playing Lego Star Wars a little bit.
Ooh.
But not that much.
Very
So,
nice. The complete saga, or is it one of the other two?
Yeah. I think like in March I bought it for like it was on sale. It was like $4.50 or something like that. So I just snatched that up. So
Nice.
that's what I've been on.
Yeah, I've definitely also the past week or so been very in depth on Star Wars, and honestly, I'm probably gonna start rewatching a couple movies this week because I'm feeling it right now.
Do it, man.
Yeah, rewatched Solo the other night. Showed it to my girlfriend for the first time.
Yeah.
She likes Star Wars a lot. She started watching it a couple years ago. Loves the prequels, and Solo, she gave it like a 7. I was like, okay. I'll take that.
Cool. I know because you texted me that you finally saw that Terrace Kasi
Yes.
callback
Mm-hmm.
from Kira, so
Yeah, very cool nod. Very good reference.
for sure.
So we're going to kick off the show the way we always do these past few weeks with From the Jedi Archives, a segment where Mike and I go to the old trusty Wikipedia and we pull an article to educate ourselves, each other, and listeners of this show about the world of Star Wars. Mike, I believe you went first last week.
So yeah, I think I did. So
Okay.
that would mean you.
All right. Well, funny enough, I told you this before the show. When I thought of this, when I realized what I had to do for Wikipedia this week, I couldn't do anything else. And
Okay.
you just brought it up. We're talking about Terrace Kasi.
Oh, all right.
Terrace Kasi was a form of hand-to-hand combat that was created to fight Jedi. Its practitioners were ranked into novices, adepts, or masters according to their skill levels and wore distinctive outfits. Former Sith Lord Maul, the head of Crimson Dawn, was a practitioner of Terrace Kasi, and he taught it to Dryden Voss, who in turn trained his lieutenant Kira. During the raid on Kessel, Kira utilized the form to take down Quay Tulsite of the Pike Syndicate. So,
Very interesting.
yeah. As far as the origins go, I'm not sure if you're familiar. You probably are, but listeners, Terrace Kasi originated, I believe it originated, this was my first exposure to it, in a PlayStation 1 fighting game called Star Wars Masters of Terrace Kasi, which was not a great game, but it's cool.
See, I've never actually played that game.
Hmm.
I had no connection to it whatsoever. But I find that like pretty cool that they put it in solo.
Yeah, and on the Wikipedia page for it, it turns out Solo isn't the first time it was canonized in the new era.
Seriously, when was the first time?
The 2015 mobile game Star Wars Uprising. Excuse me, my mistake. I got the origin wrong. The 1996 Legends novel Shadows of the Empire, and then in '97, the year after, it was the video game. So
I see. Okay, interesting. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was the first time that it was canonized was Solo.
Yes, unless, well, I guess this 2015 mobile game is still when Star Wars games were like, everything has to be canon, so maybe.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. But even before Solo, actually, it was in another film. Cut content from Rogue One, according to writer Gary Whitta, would have established that Saw Gerrera taught Teräs Käsi to Jyn Erso.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Definitely did not happen because Saw Gerrera just got like murked.
Yeah.
Super fast in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Jyn Erso probably learned like some sort of Teräs Käsi already though, because she was a good fighter.
Yeah, like it probably still happened, but like maybe it was off screen, you know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I don't know how long she was at Saw Gerrera's, his hideout there on Jeddah. So
yeah, so I wonder. We're gonna get to Fallen Order later in the show, so I wonder, this is like sort of relevant. I wonder if when we meet him in Fallen Order, she's like around.
Jyn?
Yeah, not in the game, but like timeline wise. You know?
I mean, yeah, interesting to think about that. I mean, I don't know because I guess it would all really depend on when in the timeline Fallen Order takes place and how old Jyn is.
Right.
Like, there's a possibility that like the game like just missed her.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, nevertheless, I mean, she could have just like not gone on that mission with Saw. So
yeah, true. So
yeah, interesting.
But that does it for Teräs Käsi. So what about you? What is your pick for the week?
So my pick for the week is the beloved handmaiden Sabe.
Oh, okay.
Formerly known as Sabin. She hailed from the planet Naboo, and she served as a handmaiden in the royal house of Naboo. She was duty-bound to protect Queen Padme Amidala against any threat, so she was basically... She was her decoy throughout most of Episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so Sabe, also known as Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
Yes, she's basically one of Padme's handmaidens, and if you read Queen's Shadow, you understand that Sabe and Padme had a very close bond with one another. And Sabe is sent to Tatooine to try to find Shmi Skywalker with Tonra, Captain Tonra.
Very interesting.
Fun fact.
I thought it was funny when I learned like
or
that
free
twist.
slaves, but yeah, never mind. Sorry.
In the I forget when I learned this, but the fact that she is the like body double for the queen, right?
Sure.
And I wasn't it a thing like when both of them were younger, people always said they looked exactly the same, like Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman.
Oh, really? I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's truly like indistinguishable, especially since Queen Amidala's got all the makeup on.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to tell whether or not it's Keira Knightley or Padme, or sorry, Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, I even have trouble with that now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were, that was said when they were younger, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, interesting choice. Thank you for the little lesson there.
Yeah, no problem.
So that closes the book on the Jedi Archives for this week. But
Totally.
we do have one tiny thing of news to talk about.
Only one thing of news?
Yeah, believe it or not, we actually hit the dry spell of Star Wars news.
I was thinking that it would happen one time or another. I mean, like, you always say, like, oh, there's not enough news,
Mm-hmm.
but there ends up, like, always being, like, enough, like a decent amount of news.
Yeah.
But this time, I guess you're truly saying it.
Mm-hmm. So the biggest headline of the week, right? There were some things that came out, like Oscar Isaac. Guess what? He's done with Star Wars. Big surprise. People thought that was the case, you know. There's stuff out there about how the Prime Jedi, the original Jedi that started it all, wasn't a good guy. Like, none of this stuff's news, right?
I mean, I guess that, I mean, not really.
Yeah.
Not news. Not news in the sense that we would consider it news.
Yeah, like, you can say whatever you want about the original Jedi, because we're never going to get that story, you know? It's like, oh, you want to, like, canonize Grey Jedi even more for the people that are upset that we don't get Grey Jedi in the movies. It's like, oh, the first one was a Grey Jedi. It's like, okay, sure.
It's not even, it's like barely even, yeah, it's like canonizing it, but it doesn't even do it justice. So it's almost like an insult that they're like entering it into the canon, like, in any way.
Yeah.
So...
but the first piece of notable news that I saw in our research for today was a Hollywood Reporter interview with Deborah Chow, who we know is spearheading the Obi-Wan Kenobi series coming to Disney+. She was interviewed. She was bringing up some hesitation, you know, like sort of the expectations, the excitement to do a series and a character like this. And she had an interesting quote that I can read off for you, and we can get into a little discussion about it.
Sure.
Chow said, quote, "It was at that moment you're like, wow, there really is a responsibility and weight with this character. You do feel it because it's not only the responsibility of Star Wars, of trying not to screw up Star Wars, but it's also the responsibility of trying not to be the first woman or first Asian who screws up Star Wars. It's definitely going to be different in terms of the sheer workload, obviously, of doing the whole thing. But in some ways, I'm going to miss having a team and having people who are there to bounce ideas off of. But then obviously the flip side is, it is nice to have a coherent voice and know what you're doing from beginning to end." So, basically talking about the pressure of being the one who's making the show happen.
Yeah, I think that's a, you know, it's not, you know, I think what she has to say about being like an Asian person directing Star Wars, like, that adds like a different dynamic to it that, like, I guess you and I don't really understand. So
yeah,
it's interesting to hear her speak about that. But, you know, in terms of like just the fact that like she is taking over like this beloved character, period, like regardless of like race or anything like that. It's interesting to hear her thoughts, and like I'm glad that she's talking about it, at least, because it recognizes that she's listening and thinking about those things.
Yeah, and while you or I can't understand what it's like to be in that position, it's like,
yeah,
I can recognize what this fandom can be like sometimes, you know?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I can only imagine it would be difficult, you know? Even if you get it right, people are still going to be jerks. Like,
yeah, like with how vocal the most hateful people are in the Star Wars community, right? Like we saw immense amounts of sexism and racism with the sequel trilogy actors and even people behind the scenes, but
yeah, it's pretty reprehensible.
Yeah, and I guess the comparison you could make is with someone like Kathleen Kennedy, who is in a production role in terms of having power over the direction of the series, if you want to make comparisons to that kind of pressure and targeting that some of these horrible Star Wars fans can chase after. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot, you know? Like, I'm respect to her for, like, being able to keep a level head with it, you know?
Totally. I mean, I do think like it is one, like, yeah, I mean, I think there's a level of responsibility that comes to directing any Star Wars, right? Like, and I think, like, yeah, there's probably, like, probably, like, Rian Johnson felt more of a responsibility when he was making, like, the episodic Star Wars movies. But there is something about, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, obviously. Like, he's a beloved character. Like, he dates back to the first Star Wars, so, I mean, she has a big responsibility there, and it's tough.
Yeah. And you and I have talked a lot about expectations and hopes for this Obi-Wan series, and we don't even know what we want it to be, right? Like, we just want it to be good.
Everybody has, like, their own, you know, thought about, like, what it could possibly be, and, like, and she has to somehow, like, make all of those wishes come true, but, like, she's not gonna, because that's impossible.
Right, and I like that you bring up Rian Johnson here because I do think, even though it's a series, you're still telling a new, potentially final story with this actor and this character that is so beloved, and there is so many expectations, and we do, as a collective, have our own ideas of what he was up to in this time of his life, right? So, similar to something like The Last Jedi, right? Or other pieces of media that don't do what the overwhelming fandom wants, but is still good. Like, even more recently, something like Last of Us Part 2 had dealt with this a lot. Like,
Sure.
if you're gonna tell a story that's good and bold, you have to be willing to make choices that not everybody's gonna be on board with. And in someone like Deborah Chow's position, who is Asian and a woman, you do have way more of a target on your back if you get one tiny thing wrong. And I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad she's bringing this up and talking about it, because it's going to be an inevitable thing, right? Like, that's going to be a conversation that happens.
No matter what she puts out, she's going to get some sort of flack for it.
Yeah.
So, like, and I'm sure she recognizes that. And, like, I guess she's trying to get ahead of it in some way, which is, like, I can respect that. But, like, you know, like you said, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi is, like, a big character, and, like, Ewan McGregor is, like, a big actor. Mm-hmm. And she's got a lot on her shoulders, and it's probably a lot to deal with. So cut her some slack, you know?
Yeah. So, worth noting that I don't think they're in full production right now because, well, obviously they're not in full production, but I mean, for pre-production stuff, still dealing with weird delays of things. And the show still did get rewrites earlier this year, so probably still a ways off, but it's an interesting development and the most newsworthy thing in the Star Wars community over the past week, I think.
For sure. I mean, who knows when we're actually going to get this, but regardless, I'm excited. So
me too. And like I said, very light news week, so there's no other news stories, but in terms of this here show, we do have a little update.
Updates for you.
So next week, the next episode you see will be the recap review of Master and Apprentice. So the first installment of the Star Wars book club that's going to be going down then. We'll announce the next book and the next deadline once we get through that discussion. But earlier this year, Mike, you and I watched through the Clone Wars, the acclaimed Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Are you going to say that for Rebels too? I don't know how true that is, to be honest with you.
Maybe. I don't know yet.
I'll have to see.
But you brought it up. Rebels is the follow-up. Rebels is almost a direct follow-up in terms of not necessarily cast in a full extent, but like overall kind of like role in the Star Wars media. It fills that void as a follow-up, you know?
Certainly. I think it's a good... I don't know. People have a lot of thoughts about Star Wars Rebels, both positive and negative. Mm-hmm. I've seen it all the way through one time. There are parts of it that I don't remember.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of the thing, obviously.
Right.
And, like, overall, I enjoyed it. But since watching it, I've seen some pretty, like, decent criticism. So now I'm going to watch it with that criticism in mind. And I'm kind of curious to see how that affects my overall opinion of it. So I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah, because you and I are going to begin watching Rebels for the show. We're going to do it a little differently than we did for Clone Wars, just because the nature of Rebels is not as, like, narrative arc focused. Like, there's some connecting episodes, but it's not to the extent of the Ryloth arc or the Siege of Mandalore. Like, there's nothing on that level of, like, episodic storytelling, right?
Well, I would say, like, very rarely does it get to that level. Like,
yeah.
It does, but, like, not as often as Clone Wars does.
Yeah, it's not consistent enough to break the show up the way we broke up Clone Wars.
Right, definitely.
And less episode, less filler to cut out. There is filler as far as I know, but it's not like the Clone Wars filler. So we're going to be doing the show. We're going to be watching it in seasons, I think is the plan moving forward. So by July 13th, the episode we record on July 13th, we will have watched season 1 of Rebels fully. And the episode that releases that week, we're going to have a discussion about the season, the biggest plot points, the biggest moments, give our thoughts on it the way we gave our thoughts for Clone Wars every week. So
certainly, I think this is good. We're really entering into a new era of Jedi Knights, because not only are we watching things, we're also reading things simultaneously. Mm-hmm. Master and Apprentice is not going to be the only book that we read.
Oh no. We got the other one lined up, but we got to pepper out these announcements.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, I'm just making that tease out there.
Oh yeah, new era.
It's a new era. Yeah.
And as evidence of this week, new era is going to be welcome, because I think we're in the dead zone.
I think so. Yeah. Honestly, I thought that it would have happened already. So.
Oh yeah, we're blessed. We're lucky that it got this far.
Yeah, it's been 38 episodes.
Mm-hmm. This is when the creativity of the host kicks in. This is when it's like, okay, now the spotlight's on, guys. Like, come on, seriously, how are you gonna make it entertaining?
We got to make sure we got to really amp up the entertainment energy here. So
absolutely. So look forward to that. Rebels is going to be continuing. I think it's 4 seasons, so probably 4 months doing an episode like that, and then we'll see how it continues. So I'm excited for it, though.
Move on to Resistance, maybe. Who knows?
So yeah, that's it for the show updates. So we do have a topic lined up to discuss. It's a pretty relevant topic, because there was one other quote that was like, it's not news, but sure, that ties into the topic we agreed on. I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but I think sometime in the last few days, someone from EA said, like, oh, Squadrons marks a new era for EA Star Wars, because we really want to get more experiences in Star Wars out there faster. Like 7 years into owning the license.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But what do they mean by they want to get Star Wars licenses out there faster? Like
in the 7 years since they got the rights, or maybe 8 at this point, they put 3 AAA games out. One was a sequel to the first one they put out.
Fair, yeah.
So stuff like Squadrons, smaller scale, telling a story in a different genre of a game, like, they want to really be present when it comes to Star Wars. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Squadrons marks, like, the beginning of an annualization of smaller games like Squadrons or Fallen Order sequels or whatever. But
that's like exactly what I want,
Yeah.
Just more Star Wars games. I think that's a great that's a great IP to like actually explore.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do it that often.
They don't.
They used to.
Yeah. But I was talking to Jack recently, and he was basically saying how like the EA license should almost be up, and I was like, well, I think you and I talked about this actually. Bob Iger was like, oh, we're very happy with the partnership with EA, so like they're probably re-signing. So I guess to really make sure they re-sign, maybe they do want to amp up of like the number of titles they get out in like a shorter span of time, just to look impressive on paper,
Yeah, it's possible that might be true. I mean, I think I was under the impression that the EA contract had already expired. I guess not.
It might have been this year or next year, but I do think they're re-signing based on the Iger quote to an investors meeting a couple years back.
Okay, interesting. I mean, Iger, I mean, he still has some sort of capacity with Disney and everything. So.
So what we're going to talk about today are expectations and hopes, really, wish lists for the 2 biggest sequels we got lined up, because Squadrons came out of nowhere. We don't know what the next random Star Wars game is going to be, but we do know that the names Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Star Wars Battlefront are big enough names that they're getting sequels.
Actually, this is something I did want to bring up, if you'll allow.
Go.
Do you think that Battlefront 2 will get a sequel? I'm not sure about that.
I think so. I get being hesitant of it for sure, just the way they've been talking about it recently, right?
Yeah.
And how DICE is moving on to Battlefield next, and there was a weird, like, originally it was alternating between Battlefront and Battlefield, and Battlefield is next, even though, well, actually, 2017 was Battlefront 2. 2018, we got Battlefield 1.
Okay.
Or 5. I think we've gotten 2 Battlefield games since Battlefront 2 came out.
It doesn't seem like they're working on a Battlefront 3. I feel like we would know something about that.
Yeah, I think they've said as much. So Battlefield 1 was the year before Battlefront 2. Battlefield 5 was 2018. And then, obviously, there was nothing in 2019 except for the Celebration Edition content. And then nothing this year. So Battlefield 6, I think, is next up on their plate. And they've said no Star Wars game at DICE right now. So I get asking that question. I think it's fair just based on interviews and like the timeline of working on these sequels. But I think it's coming. Like, Battlefront 2 sold so well.
You think it's in its future for sure?
Yeah, like I think Battlefield 6 is probably going to come out 2021. Maybe they support that for a year, and we don't get Battlefront 3 until 2022 or 3, maybe. But I do think it's a thing that'll happen.
I just think Battlefront 2 is going to be able to like ride on the coattails for like a while, you know.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Battlefront 2 as being a game that launched in 2017 and was supported until 2020, then yeah, it can last like 1 or 2 more years just with the community, because they've said they're done for updates, which I believe that.
I believe that, unfortunately, because I do want that crossplay. But
yeah, and after their EA Play presentation where it was the crossplay show and then Battlefront didn't show up, like, I think they're done. I feel like if there was anything else, it was going to be a crossplay update, and they missed the window to announce that, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
So,
which is sad, upsetting.
Yeah, but when Battlefront 3 comes around, because I'm sure it will, you know, definitely I think we're a couple years away from it, but I guess if we want to start there, crossplay, I'm pretty sure that's a lock, because every EA game they announced at this recent show was like, yeah, we're doing crossplay, so...
I think that's just going to be something that is, in the future, something everybody does. It's just like crossplay is a thing that people do, or game studios do. So yeah, I think that would definitely be a lock if there is a Battlefront 3. I think it's likely there will be a Battlefront 3, just depending on when it is, I think is the question.
Yeah. I think 22 or 23 is reasonable just for how long it would take. And releasing in like the middle of a next-gen console cycle probably makes sense, you know, maybe partner with PlayStation to be like, oh, Battlefront 3 plays best on the PS5 Pro, showcase this ray tracing on Captain Phasma, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I hope in 2023 they're not like marketing Battlefront 3 with Captain Phasma. I really hope not.
Yeah, that's another good point, dude. Like, Battlefront 2, we got all 3 eras, right?
Battlefront 2, yeah.
So,
which is a great accomplishment.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think there's anything Battlefront 3 can do on the era front that makes it as big of a deal as it was when Battlefront 2 came out and was like, we got Clone Wars, we got the sequels too? Because I know Battlefront 1 had a sequel map, right? Like Jakku was there.
Yeah, Jakku was there, I think. That's it, though.
Yeah, so, but Battlefront 2 came out and was like, we got everything.
I don't know if they can. I think that Star Wars would have to make or Disney would have to make some serious moves like toward creating film, like film, and I'm talking like movies
Yeah.
within the next like 2 years for that to be something that I would see in a next Battlefront.
Mm-hmm.
I'm maybe like depending on like what the TV shows are like, perhaps like they could go to some of those locations, but like in terms of new maps, I'm not really seeing anything new at this point. I feel like it would just be the same ones, just like but look way better or much more impressive in terms of scale and
Mm-hmm.
quality. And yeah, I'm not really sure though. I feel like we'd have to definitely see some more like feature film investments.
I think that's a good point because Battlefront 2 kind of dances around the Clone Wars, you know? Like, voice
I wouldn't
actors.
say it dances around it.
I mean, I would to a certain extent because, like, as far as actual visual representation of the Clone Wars series, we got Kamino with the droids ripping stuff off everything. But
Okay.
as far as everything else goes, I do feel like it's strictly based on the movies. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's the whole point, right?
yeah, but I mean, I think it dances around Clone Wars because a couple of the voice actors return. There's an Obi-Wan and Anakin skin with their general commander outfits, you know, from Clone Wars.
Sure, yeah.
And other than that, aside from like some lines of dialogue that are like clankers, stuff like that, there's not much Clone Wars series content in the game, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it has to do partially with like think about it this way. If the Siege of Mandalore were in Battlefront 3,
Mm-hmm.
what would that do to get like people who don't know anything like I don't know, like your casual Star Wars fan is not going to know about that. Like it would
Mhm.
like you and I would be like hyped about that. That would be
Yeah.
super cool. But like is the casual Star Wars fan going to actually care?
I don't.
Or should they spend more resources making better the things that everybody can relate to and everybody recognizes?
Sure. I mean, I feel like we could do both, honestly. Like, I think with, however, the road ahead between sunsetting 2 and then whenever 3 is going to come out, like, I feel like you have all the time in the world right now. I feel like you could do both. Like, I think as far as the casual side that aren't, not even casual, because, like, sometimes I feel like I'm casual, even though I watch the shows, like,
You're definitely not casual anymore, Christian.
all right, I'll take it. Like, with I feel like with that audience though that's just buying Battlefront because like, oh cool, Star Wars shooter, like I don't think they mind, you know? It's like, oh, Siege of Mandalore,
No.
like Mandalorian, and then they see like a cool new map to explore, this cool city in a bubble, right?
Right. I'm just saying that like it's hard to like market things with that though. Like you wouldn't want to like have like you wouldn't want to spend a lot of your marketing money and like, oh, check it out, like the Siege of Mandalore, you know what I mean? Like no one's going to care. Everyone's going to be like, where's the Death Star, you know?
Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
but like that's what I'm saying. Like it would be cool to like have, but like I just don't know how much it would help EA sell copies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think what it would do though is you sell to the hardcore there, right? Because I think personally, Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 as it exists is as good as it could get right now almost. Like I feel like there's a couple tweaks they could make, but you want to go for like why does a 3 need to exist? Why do I need to buy a 3, right? Like that's what you probably go into the marketing for 3 with based on all the improvements and tweaks and additions you made to 2. It's like, why should I upgrade to 3? I think you immediately at the start go for the people that are being underserved in terms of the representation you want, and that's the TV side. Because like,
Sure,
okay. If you have that trailer, right, and then it's the big reveal trailer that goes on ESPN, it's like cool, flying through space, hopping in a ship, on a cruiser, flying to the other cruiser, flying through the trench of the Death Star, really push the scale of these iconic areas, and then you end that trailer with Ahsoka lighting up both sabers, you immediately get all the people that were like, I played this before, you know?
That's true. I mean, that would be cool. I think the way that they would have to do it, though, honestly, Christian, is like wait until there's something new on the movie front.
Okay.
I think that's going to make it worth it for Disney to put all the resources into this to begin with.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I mean, I have nothing really to base this off of other than my own like gut instinct on like what would be not only like most financially beneficial for the company, but also like just what they have in terms of IP left to burn, you know, and I think it would be better for them to wait until they have something that's more mass appeal, like a movie, or if they like really went hard on with like. Not hard on, but if they really went hard into the TV shows, but not just not the cartoons, but like the super popular ones like Mandalorian, like maybe that would be better. I have no idea. This is all speculation.
Right. So let me pivot then. If they were to make a Battlefront 3 without the movies progressing to a new era, what do you think you would want to see most? Like, what would be the big deal? Because we've brought it up a couple times. I think the answer is scale.
Sure. Yeah.
I know both of us are very fond of the mode in Battlefront 2 original where you are on like a Republic cruiser and then you hop in a what are the proto X-Wings called that the clones fly? Oh
God, I have no idea.
ZX-70s or whatever. I don't know. Like, you hop into a Jedi starfighter, and you fly off the Republic cruiser, go through space, do a full dogfight, destroy the shield generator for the droid separatist ship, and then board the droid separatist ship. So, like, having that in the game would be sick. I'd love that. I feel like would warrant me spending $60 on a Battlefront 3.
And we're almost getting there with Squadrons too, in a way. Like other than the whole boarding an enemy ship part.
Yeah,
that's basically what Squadrons is, and I think we just need a nice marriage between the two of them. And scale definitely in terms in the way that you're describing it. I think that we should definitely have the ability to like get into a ground vehicle and then like fly up to a space battle. That's something that would be a prerequisite for Battlefront 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think, like, both scale and new modes and new experiences, like, new ways to play the game are what would sell a Battlefront 3.
I think you're right.
In addition to maybe some cool new places, but, like, new ways that the game is played.
Sure. And I think that Starfighter mode, like the sort of full realization of what that mode could be, is a huge step that way. And I think what you just said about the, like, getting in a ship and then flying into space as a prerequisite is interesting because the original Battlefront 3 that I believe Pandemic was working on that got all the way to an alpha, like, that was in the game. That was the thing.
Yeah, it should be in the game. It really should be.
Yeah, because I don't have much experience with Battlefield outside of Bad Company 2. But
I don't have any experience with Battlefield.
Okay. DICE, I bring it up because DICE does both, right?
Sure.
With Battlefield, at least, it was always about the scale. And it was these gigantic maps. You could snipe someone across the map that was insanely far away. And while Battlefront really goes in for making it feel so authentic, and yeah, there's some big maps, it still doesn't feel like we're fully there the way it felt with Bad Company 2, at least, in terms of, like, literally hundreds of meters away, there's another entire small war going on, right?
Right.
That I think scale could really benefit from on both next gen and having the experience of Battlefront 1 and 2 under the belt.
You don't think Battlefront 2 is impressive in its scale? I think like the maps are actually pretty serious, in my opinion.
I think it's good. I think it's impressive. I just feel like based on the type of media we've seen of Star Wars, right? Say like the Battle of Geonosis. Let me get a full flat sand dune trenches, big long battlefield to just like snipe people. And like I feel like playing as the specialist in Battlefront 2, maybe I'm just bad at it, but I feel like it's pointless.
Really?
Personally, yeah, because I feel like there's no good... Like, a sniper should be, like, hunkered down somewhere, picking people off across the map, and I feel like the maps are so well realized in terms of different caverns and stuff to go through that they're kind of rendered pointless. I feel like there's no long stretch of viewpoints, really.
All right. Well, I mean that's interesting, and I guess I can see your point on some, really a lot of the maps. And I think that that's tough because, like, in some respects, they're kind of already limited because the vision has already been completed. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like they're just they're recreating things that already exist.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess there are ways to fix that, for sure. And
yeah.
and that would be something that I would want to see in Battlefront 3 as well.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about campaign?
I think that would have to be a serious, like, integral part to Battlefront 3. I think it'd have to have a decently long campaign
mm-hmm.
that is that pays a little bit more attention to the canon,
mm-hmm.
And can captivate like Battlefront 2's campaign couldn't.
Okay, so
we know that EA can do it.
Yeah.
So
I have a question for you because I haven't played the campaign. I have an idea in mind of what I want to see on a campaign side, but for you as someone who played through the whole Iden Versio Inferno Squadron thing, ideally, is there anything in mind that you'd want to see tackled in a Battlefront 3 campaign?
I mean, I think I'm in the minority, right? Because, like, I actually like the Iden Versio stuff. Mm. So I'm certainly in the minority in that respect. I would say the Battlefront 2 campaign relied a lot on the heroes of Star Wars. And there was, like, a lot of cameos by them. You were playing them a lot. So less of a reliance on that and more of like a straight through narrative, I think, is what I would want.
Okay. I kind of differ there, and again, I haven't played the campaign yet, so I can't really judge it specifically based on the one we have.
Okay.
But I feel like, again, you want to talk about marketing this, right, and making a need for it to sell well and proving that it should exist so it can make money.
Yeah.
I think what would be super cool and really go for that and the scale of everything and the feeling of Star Wars even more is if we have a campaign that spans all the eras and it's a bunch of vignettes of, like, recreating iconic battles from each trilogy. Like, maybe you could bring in stuff from the Clone Wars as well, since you deal with a lot more big battles like that. But
yeah,
have a campaign where it is like, okay, you are Domino Squad or something for the prequel era, and you get to start on the match, or technically they weren't there, but like you start on Geonosis when the clones arrive, and you play through that set piece, right? Then maybe you skip forward a couple years into the conflict, and then you play as Domino Squad or in a big event that was from the Clone Wars series, and then you end with the Siege of Mandalore or something, or the Battle of Coruscant, and then similarly maybe you start the original trilogy era with the assault on Scarif, and then you end on the Battle of Endor. Like, I feel like you could do something really cool there in terms of making cinematic, big bombastic first-person shooter levels based on these really iconic things in the series of films, and not just have it be like, oh, you're on that map, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think that would also include, like a heavy presence from hero characters and stuff? Like, if you're on Endor, you're playing as, Han.
Yeah, I think so. And then I don't think it would be, at least for the campaign, a point-based thing of like, more so you're pushing the front forward on Endor, and then when you reach the base, it's like, okay, now you're Han, run inside, play at the charges, like that kind of thing.
Okay, interesting. So you're not playing as them all the time.
No, I feel like if you're doing it, I've in my head here, we're recreating some scenes with cutscenes throughout the mission, you
Okay.
know.
All right, yeah.
So I think that could be a really cool thing. I think that would be more fitting for the tone of Battlefront as a campaign more than an original story would. Um,
That's
but
interesting. I certainly, yeah. I really, yeah. I don't know. I
mhm.
don't know if I think that they would have to certainly do it differently for me to be interested in that. I don't know exactly how that would look,
Yeah,
but that like on first gut instinct is not as appealing to me.
yeah. I understand why it wouldn't be, right, because it's like been there, done that. So
Right. I think that's why, but I don't know.
mhm. Yeah, I think just recreating it on that scale with that budget and that attention to detail and making it all feel cohesive across three different eras, I feel like could be really interesting. And it's not like any specific thing is getting a focus over the other eras, but I think Battlefield 1 did vignettes as well. So like DICE is familiar with doing, okay, this perspective now, pulling out this perspective, bouncing around like that. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be cool. I guess. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know if I have much more to say about Battlefield 2.
sure, yeah. Other than that, like if they want to do a campaign, it's all about the Bad Batch. I'll take that too. like,
Yeah, let's do that.
so when it comes to Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Yeah.
Much more focused on the narrative than gameplay when it comes to, I guess, things we'd want to see from a sequel. But I guess we can start with gameplay because for me at least, I don't think there's anything I don't want to see changed. But what about you? Do you think there's any new things you'd want to see when it comes to gameplay, tweaks, changes, improvements, anything there?
Okay, so I think obviously Fallen Order is much more of a different game than Battlefront 2 is.
Yeah.
Duh. But like, what Battle or what Fallen Order ended up doing kind of late in the game with that update that brought like those like challenges and stuff like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think that there's a way that they can scale that up a little bit and like kind of capitalize on that thought process and like what if they had something where it was like side missions and you had to like platform through like new areas and stuff like that to complete like some sort of task within a certain amount of time and like you can find a way to make it replayable or something like that. But I don't know. I feel like that would be a cool way to like differentiate the game and kind of expand it a little bit more than just like outside of the main story.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. That's a good point, Mike. I think like I'm imagining something that the base game kinda did with the vault on Bogano, but like not just you get something in the narrative and then go back there. I think what you said about making an optional thing, sort of like how it seemed Dathomir was at the start, like introduce this like ancient Jedi temple, and it's like you can return there at any point in the story and do challenges or like progress through a dungeon that's persistent the entire game, and it's just a matter of how far you can get into it before you have to turn around and like come back later. Like
Exactly. Something cool like that. Something that like has very high replay value. Like maybe you can find like certain things in the dungeon, or like
mhm.
I don't know. Like there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like that could be very cool. Like it could test like a variety of different things, like platforming, like you said, like challenges like that, as well as just combat challenges. Like, and obviously, if you didn't want to progress further in the campaign, you could keep pushing, and it's just real hard. Like something like that, I feel like could be really cool. And then, yeah, make it entirely optional, accessible whenever, right? Like, it's not something that's super important to reach the end of for the story, but maybe you get some extra context about the order if you reach the end, or you get a really nice item or a cool robe or outfit or new lightsaber tool. Like That could be awesome. That could be very cool.
Or just like, I don't know. This is another idea. This is me spitballing.
Hmm.
Like like EA create or Respawn or whatever creates different dungeons like every month or something like that, and there's like a different place to explore on a certain planet or something. I don't know. Just thought.
Yeah, that could be.
Different different creatures to fight. Maybe different planets to go to. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end, like different cosmetic items that you can get.
That sounds like it could be ripe for EA to monetize.
In the right way, though.
Yeah. Like,
I think there's a way to do it right.
yeah, I think the way you're describing it, if they did like a battle pass-esque thing of like you get a season for a month or two, and then there's all this content you can unlock and earn, like, I feel like I'd be fine with that. Like, if it was a cool offering, I would do it. I think.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. I guess it would you have to make it worth it in some way, though.
Yeah.
Which is why I propose online dueling.
Ooh, you really want to make it a Souls game at this point. Yeah, introduce some like PvP, like invading other players. That'd be sick, dude.
I mean, like I don't even know. Just like you could just get into like an arena with like another Jedi, right?
What if? Like, think about this. What if this is something Souls does, where you have to toggle this as like being something you want to do, right? But you agree to allow your game to be open, right? And anybody who's playing the game could invade your game, and then random boss fight, and it's just a player. Like, you have to fight this player that comes out of nowhere to progress. Like, that could be very cool. Like, what if
Yeah.
What if at the start of the game it's like, okay, you're gonna play as Cal, but we want you to design your own Inquisitor. That at any point you can go into this menu, matchmake with some random person, invade their game as this new Inquisitor, and you fight Cal. And the Cal you're fighting is a different player just playing through the game.
I mean, that would be kind of cool, man. Like, I feel like there would have to definitely be some sort of like in-canon explanation for that, though.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I mean, I think you could also just chalk it up to like the Inquisitors are still tracking Cal, and then all of a sudden there you go.
right.
You know?
I mean, I don't know. I think there are a lot of different opportunities there. Whether that be they kind of like scale up from what they had originally introduced with that most recent update of theirs, or if they decide to go another route, or maybe both, and do some matchmaking. I think that would be cool.
That could be very cool, yeah. Because that combat's great. Like, I think you can do a little tweaking to make it a little tighter. And I only say that because I played Sekiro, and Sekiro is like that formula perfected, and Fallen Order is just like slightly below it. So,
well, think about what they can get, like the level of competency that they can get to, like in a Fallen Order 2. Like,
oh yeah,
that's like ways away. Like they have time to really, get those, get that down.
absolutely, yeah. Because I already loved the combat of Fallen Order, so if you can just like fix it where it lacks a little bit, then perfect. Gonna be great.
Totally. What do you want to see out of the story?
Train Merrin. Give her a lightsaber, give her force powers.
Yep.
Please. That'd be sick.
Agreed.
That is absolutely top of the list for me. That is the thing. Because, like, you get, like, a witch from Dathomir who already has these cool powers. Give her a lightsaber and, like, maybe give her some basic force stuff, but really go in on the witch powers. Oh, that's cool. That's new. Do that.
That would be pretty cool. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I think that's definitely up there. Do you want to see a romance between her and Cal?
I could take it or leave it. I know they kind of set it up at the end a little bit, like a little sprinkling of it here when we wrap the game up, and I thought they had some alright like chemistry, but I could do without it if they chose to leave it behind. I don't mind.
I kind of like it. I would want them to follow through with it, in my personal opinion. But that's just me.
Do you think end of the day Cal Kestis walks out of Fallen Order 2 alive?
If he walks out of it alive, I think yes. I just depending on whether or not he's a Jedi.
Okay.
I would want them to. I would want them to go like darker with him.
Oh, so you're thinking maybe he'll turn?
I hope so.
Interesting.
I feel like that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I want like Merrin to become like a playable character, and like then you kind of like switch between both of them.
Yeah, like if at the end of it all, Merrin is like the Jedi of 2, and then like Cal falls to the dark side. Oh, please, that'd be sick.
That's actually sick. Like, think about this. Ready? Like,
Sure.
Jedi Fallen Order 2 takes place like maybe like 2 or 3 years after Jedi Fallen Order 1, and like Ser Junda and Cal Kestis and Merrin, they've all been like kind of training together. And by the end of 2, Cal Kestis is a, bad guy, Inquisitor, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Jedi. And Merrin has to like save him.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, Fallen Jedi. Just saying. It's right
Boom! Baby, there you go. That's what I'm saying. I feel like Respawn should just hire us.
Oh, please, yeah.
DM me
I'm
on Twitter
right now. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential of Fallen Order, right? And I'm curious to see how we continue. Like, do we end up facing off against Vader again? Like, are there implications about Cal going into hiding? Does the crew die? Like, where are they when Episode 9 hits? Like, I feel like there's a lot to explore there. I think the most interesting thing where we left off for sure is Night Sister Merrin, but yeah, I'm good with it, whatever they want to give me. Really.
Yeah, definitely ready for whatever.
For sure. But do you have any other things to say about Fallen Order, story-wise, or
Nothing about Fallen Order, I don't think. I think
any
unless
cameos?
Cameos, man. Jyn Erso.
Sure, yeah. Run a mission with Saw again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe Ahsoka.
Ahsoka would be cool too, for sure. Maybe Maul? Is he alive at this point?
Maul?
I'm gonna check when Fallen Order takes place.
I think he may be alive.
When does Fallen Order take place? Because I was gonna say, where do you think we are timeline-wise? Like, do you think we're closer to New Hope? Are we in Rogue One era?
I think that we're closer to Rogue One era. Actually, maybe closer to... I don't know.
Okay, so for Fallen Order, the one we have, 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, which is 9 years before Rebels, and 14 years before Rogue One and A New Hope. So, do you think we take like a significant jump between Fallen Order and Fallen Order 2? Or
I hope so.
Where, ideally, where do you want to see it?
Remind me again how many years before A New Hope it takes place?
14 before A New Hope and Rogue One, 9 before Rebels.
Yeah, I want to see like a 5-year time jump, maybe.
Okay.
I want to see a significant time jump.
So maybe we would cross paths with Kanan. What's his name?
Yeah, maybe they start getting involved with some rebel syndicates, maybe. Kanan Jarrus.
Mm-hmm. Would be very interesting.
It would be.
But this is probably far away.
Yeah.
Out of the two, which one do you think we get first?
I think we get Fallen Order 2 first.
Me too.
I think Battlefront 3 is likely much farther away, for good reason.
Yeah, I agree. Fallen Order, I feel like didn't take very long to make, and remember there were reports originally that I think it was the Visceral game got shut down because Respawn, in like a fraction of the time, had almost a full game, and
yeah,
they really threw this thing together fast, and it was very efficient, and they're on an engine that is comfortable with the people working on it. So I do think it's probably likely that we get this, especially if Battlefield 6 is next up for DICE. This is probably way sooner than Battlefront 3 is.
Yeah, I think it's definitely way sooner than it is too. Definitely would agree with you on that.
Yeah. And because I know Apex is also Respawn, and Respawn sadly is not doing a Titanfall 3 right now, but I would assume they, like, pretty soon after Fallen Order came out, they were, like, straight into pre-production, right? Because I think that sequel got announced, like, pretty soon after this game came out.
I think so. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already working on it right now, like, programming some stuff, designing some characters, like...
No, yeah, they're definitely working on it right now, for sure.
Yeah. So, I'm excited, you know? We're getting more Star Wars games at a faster pace. Fallen Order 2 is probably soon-ish, realistically, maybe a year or two, but...
I've been saying for a long time, bring on the Star Wars games, man.
Yeah, EA's listening to you.
For sure.
Just took 7 years.
It took a while, yeah.
But I believe that's going to do it for episode 38 of Jedi Knights. Mike, if there's anything you want to shout out?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, it is at Chris N. Buckley. This show has a Twitter, at Jedi Knights JC. JC is for JoyClicks. If you want to follow JoyClicks on Twitter, it's at JoyClicks. This show, once again, youtube.com/JoyClicks. If you're watching us speak to each other, you're seeing something that we didn't, because I can't see Mike, Mike can't see me.
I can't see Christian at all.
You're seeing both of us like we're looking at each other right now.
You look beautiful, Christian.
Thank you. I really put on my best today with this tie-dye shirt and Star Wars hoodie.
Great. Well, I'm wearing just a green sweatshirt. So
excellent. And the show is also available as an audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast services, whatever you are most comfortable with. If you can rate or review on the show, it would be appreciated if you could. Leave a small review. Leave a Star Wars meme, maybe, on Apple. I don't care. As long as you write something, that's nice.
Just write something.
Yeah. Write something. But that's everything. That's going to do it. Mike, it was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, I'll be back next week. We'll talk about Master and Apprentice. Should be a good time.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see if Rebels is acclaimed.
Yeah, we'll see.
Starting that tonight.
How far do you think you'll get tonight?
Maybe the first, 2 or 3.
Nice. All right.
We'll see. But that's going to do it. Until next week, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
General Kenobi.